Uh, Another day, another school day. Finally home. Oh, guess it's time to lay down and watch YouTube and get some rest before I have to do some chores and stuff. Nortes! What do you want? Nortes, you have to do a video today! I don't want to do a video. I just got back from school. I'm tired. Nortes, you have to do a video today! I don't want to do the video! I'll do the video. Okay, I'll do the video. NLP FIM is property of Hasbro. This is a free fan fiction, not to be sold or traded for any money, goods, or services. Warning, grim dark. Contains graphic writing. Please do not read if you do not like gory, violent stories concerning MLP. Contains murder, slaughter, gore, and swearing. Like this last one really matters. LOL. fLuTtEr 5. News of the young puddle jumper's disappearance reached Fluttershy's cottage the next day. Rainbow Dash landed in front of Fluttershy's home and knocked. She was greeted by her oldest friend. "Hello, Dashie." Fluttershy smiled sweetly. "What brings you here to see me?" She then saw the grim look on her friend's face. "A youngster in town went missing yesterday. He was last seen heading toward the Everfree Forest." "Oh my," Fluttershy gasped. "We need to try to find him before anything happens." She turned to the happy little animals in her care. Fluttershy closed the door and turned to Dash. "Any idea where he might have gone?" "Tracker was able to follow his tracks to the edge of the forest." Dash looked away from Fluttershy, but his tracks vanished. There was no other tracks around. Fluttershy looked shocked. "No. Could it have been some flying monster?" She thought it was ironic, calling herself a monster. "Don't know. The weather ponies are flying over the forest right now, trying to see if they can pick up the trail. No pony knows the forest better than you. You have to help us find Puddle Jumper." "Ripple and Pond's little colt? He's the one missing?" Tears formed in her eyes. "We have to save him." She galloped into the forest. Dash flew behind her. "We'll find him, no matter what." Fluttershy nodded and led Dash down a path, one that would lead well away from the hidden cave, her baby, and well away from the ravine. She just hoped that none of the Pegasi flying overhead would find it. "I really don't like this place," Dash shuddered. "Why can't we just fly overhead?" "We could." Fluttershy slowed down and looked around, pretending to look for clues. "But then we might miss something." "Well, yeah, I guess that's true," she shivered. "Hey, Shy." "Yes, Dashie?" "I have a really bad feeling about this. I mean, Twilight tried using her locator spell, but she couldn't find him at all." "Maybe he's out of range? Oh, that would mean he might be further in the forest." Dash shook her head and landed in front of Fluttershy. There were tears in her eyes. "That's not it. The spell picks up the life force of the pony. The spell's range is really big, especially with Twi casting it. She just couldn't find him." Fluttershy paled. "But whatever took him either flew so far away that even Twi couldn't find him, or," she gritted her teeth, "or it killed him." Fluttershy hugged Dash, her own tears pouring. She sobbed. Dash steps back. "She also said the spell can't reach underground." "A cave?" Fluttershy wiped her tears. "Maybe he fell into a cave or a hole in the ground." "I am so glad that Whisperwing's cave is so well hidden. You can't even find it until you are almost right at the entrance. And the ravine, it may be a clearing on one side. There are plenty of trees growing and hanging over it from the other side." She frowned in her mind. "Guess I'll have to find a new place to hide the remains, and I might have to move my baby further to the forest." "That's possible." Dash dried her tears. "Come on, let's go join the others." ... Dash and Fluttershy were flying high over the forest, searching for anything that might be out of place. Fluttershy could see the small clearing that housed the ravine, but from up here it was hidden by overhanging trees. She hoped that it would remain hidden. A moment later, she spotted 2 Pegasi circling the clearing. Dash also noticed. Hey, I think some pony found something. Let's go check it out. Fluttershy felt her heart sink. Sure, Jumper's body wasn't in the ravine, but in the cave. There was no tracks or anything like that, thanks to Flutter covering all evidence, including all evidence from the hunt. But she was still worried. Hey, Rainbow Dash! We found something! One of the circling Pegasi flew up. Dash recognized him as its tracker. He was the best at tracking. The other one was on the ground with 2 more. Dash joined them, Fluttershy right behind. What did you find? A ravine filled with bones, Tracker replied. And worse, one was a pony. Fluttershy whimpered and hid behind Dash as pieces of the skeleton were brought up. Is there any clue who what it was? Dash stepped forward and looked at the pile of bones. She wanted to scream and fly away as fast as she could. Where is the skull? There was none. There are none. Tracker pointed to the ravine. There's a lot of animal skeletons in there. This pony, it's not the missing colt. This was an adult. He examined the hoof. Splayed hooves. This was a unicorn pony. Dash looked back at the cowering and wide eyes of Fluttershy. One sec, okay, Tracker? She walked to her friend. Fluttershy, hey, maybe you should go home. Fluttershy shook her head. No, I don't want to be alone right now. Her eyes were still locked in those bones. The skeleton was not in one neat piece, and many bones were missing, scattered among the other bones below. For there's a few more bones for that poor pony down here, another pony called from below. I found the pelvis. It was a mare. The Pegasus carried the dark-stained bone in her hooves and set it down. Look at these. All these teeth marks. Fluttershy whimpered more. Those were mostly her own teeth marks, left behind as she stripped flesh from the bones. I'll have to be more careful from now on, she promised herself. This was a mistake she would not repeat. Live and learn, live and learn. ... The remains had been transported back to Ponyville for Dr. Reads to examine. Fluttershy was worried that the unicorn doctor might be able to identify those bite marks as her own. If that happened, she didn't know what she would do. She was one of the 3 Pegasi who were transporting the bones, carrying them in sacks that had been brought in for that purpose. As they landed, Dr. Reads was waiting, flanked on either side by Nurse Redheart and Needles. Bring them inside, please. The doctor had a grim expression on his face. Fluttershy disposed of the sack she carried next to the other pair of sacks. Dr. Reads? Yes, Fluttershy. He knew her well enough, as she would often stop by for medicine for her animals. Will you be able to tell what did that? She looked nervously at the bag of bones. I don't know, really. I'm no expert at this kind of thing. I don't even think of a time in all my years as a doctor that anything like this has happened. He rubbed his brow. I don't even think there are any experts in this field. Maybe I can help. What? Why would you want to help? Fluttershy looked down. There's nothing else I can do. He sighed. He knew Fluttershy was an accomplished healer, and had on more than a few occasions seen her candy stripping around the hospital when it got busy. Very well. Let's try to piece the skeleton together. ... Dr. Reads was impressed as he helped Fluttershy piece together the remains, rather than her helping him. A shame the skull is missing, he muttered. It could have been held valuable clues as to this pony's identity. Mare, unicorn. Fluttershy ignored Dr. Reed as she examined various bones. Right foreleg looked like it had been broken and magically mended. She jotted down the notes. Dr. Reeves raised an eye. And how could you know all this? Unicorns have unique hooves, similar to goats. The pelvis has a large hole, big enough for a newborn foal to fit through. Fluttershy tapped the leg bone in question, and the fracture looks neatly enough and professionally mended, smooth, and with no distortions. Dr. Reed was indeed impressed. What can you tell me about these marks on the ribs? He pointed to the faint teeth marks. Fluttershy examined them. Flat, but very sharp teeth. She paused and ran her tongue over her own teeth. They didn't feel sharp at all. Flat like a pony's teeth, but they're sharp, so that's impossible. Dr. Reeves knew he was out of his league. He specialized in medicines after all. Fluttershy knew more about the biology of an animal's body than he did, meaning she most likely had a better understanding of the pony physiology. He specialized in medicines after all. I'm glad you're here to help me. He paused and ran his own tongue over his own teeth. And I agree, those teeth marks on the bones can't be those of a pony. Fluttershy tapped one of the neck vertebrae. May you float this one? He did so, and watched as Fluttershy scrutinized the bone. Next one, please. They repeated the process all the way down to the tail. Fluttershy had examined each and every bone in great detail. She didn't write down a few of the interesting things that she was noticing. The spine. It seems to be more than just a bunch of bones that hold out front and back together. She mentally grinned, but remained somewhat passive, and a little worried on the outside. All of them have a hole through them, and I pulled that long thing from them. It wasn't a vein or any muscle. I wonder what that was. Dr. Reads, I need to get a book. Do you have any on pony bodies? I mean, the insides. Would it be nice to know what all that stuff does in the body, and what can be picked on for maximum pain without proving fatal? I think we have some books like that, but the worst thing we ever need to treat here is a broken leg or wing, though I did have to reattach Punky Pierce's horn after Snippety-Boppety cut it off a while ago. Reeds frowned momentarily, rubbing his own horn. Let me go get those books. Thank you, Dr. Reads. Fluttershy grinned darkly as she watched him exit the room. So much to learn. ... Fluttershy entered the library, wearing her saddlebags, and weighed down by a couple thick books. Twilight was reading through some of the books she had ordered from Canterlot, making a ton of notes in the process. Twilight? Twilight nearly jumped out of her skin at the sound of Fluttershy's soft voice. Fluttershy! I didn't even hear you come in. She took a few deep breaths. What can I do for you? We found a pony skeleton in the Everfree Forest. Twilight went white. No, was it? It wasn't the missing colt. It was a full-grown unicorn mare. She glanced around the room. I'm helping Dr. Reads to find out how she died. Can't he just do a memory tap? A what? A unicorn can house a few hours of memory into their horn, which can be read by another unicorn by touching their horn to it. There was no skull recovered. She then described the ravine, using minimal detail. So many skeletons, but no skulls? Twilight frowned. Sounds like some creature is collecting trophies. She then grinned. If I can make use of the unicorn's bones, I may be able to locate her skull, and thus her horn. That's great! Fluttershy looked happy, but inside. Buck, 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 Buck. Of course Twilight would be able to do something like that. I'm proud that she's so smart. Her mind then grinned, a dark thought creeping out from hiding. So, let's see what will win. Cunning and experience, or book smarts? If smarts win, then Mama will just have to vanish with her baby. If cunning wins, Twilight learns what it is like to be hunted. I'll have to think of something special just for her, and her alone. Of course, that will require me taking a trip to Canterlot, and requesting to study books and spells in the Forsaken Hall in the library. How long would that take? Assuming Princess Celestia even allows me to research the spell I'm thinking about, it might take a few days. Then I'll need to prepare the skeleton and... Twilight frowned. There's a reason that section of the library is called the Forsaken Hall. Necromancy is not practiced anywhere in Equestria. Necro. Magic that allows the animation of the dead. After this is done, I'll be turning myself into Princess Celestia to have the spell erased from my mind, as well as anything else I learn while in those halls. Twilight grabbed a spare scroll and started writing her request. She then sealed it and called for Spike. Spike entered the main library from the old book section. You call, Twi? Please send this to Princess Celestia. She floated the letter to her assistant. It's very urgent. Gotcha! Spike sent the letter off with his emerald flame. So, have you found the missing foal yet? I don't think they'll be able to find him. Fluttershy hung her head. I feel so useless. Twilight hugged her shy friend. You are not useless. Your talents are perfect for who you are. Is it? Fluttershy asked, a little tension in her voice. What's bothering you, Fluttershy? I have to keep calm. I'm a lot smarter than most ponies believe. And cunning. I'm a huntress and a healer. Still, I can't let any pony find out about my baby. I'm just scared. Don't worry, Twilight gave a reassuring smile, even though she was full of doubt herself. I'm sure we'll figure out what happened to little Puddle Jumper and this mysterious unicorn. Spike was aware of the situation, even though he didn't really understand. He just stayed quiet till he belched out green flame. The reply to Twilight's letter appeared. Twilight took it in her magic and opened it. She read it over to herself, tense. Princess Celestia accepted my request, she gulped. I'll be leaving once the chariot arrives. She turned back to Fluttershy. Please make sure no ponies disturb the skeleton until I get back. Fluttershy nodded. All right. I'll ask Dr. Reads to make sure no pony goes near those bones. Fluttershy smiled on the outside, but frowned on the inside. Not good. If she can locate the skull, that will lead her right to my baby. Guess I'll have to do something to sabotage her. ... He could see and hear everything clearly through Fluttershy's eyes and ears. She could hear his whispers, feel his manipulation, and even feel his worries. Blackthorn was highly intelligent. He was weak right now, but potentially very powerful. He cared nothing for the lives of the ponies, all but for his mama. If the feeling he had for her could be described, it was love. But Blackthorn was not wanting to take any chances. Twilight was potentially a very dangerous adversary. Something had to be done to throw her off track. He then had an idea. He hated to give up the lovely trophy, but had no choice. ... Fluttershy stepped into the evergreen forest once again, her hooves never leaving tracks in the dirt or mud. I know he likes the skulls, but I have to do something. I know. What if I planted the skull someplace else? Framed some other creature even. Her passive expression became a dark grin, her flat teeth growing into small sharp fangs. I could place the blame on another pony. Fluttershy knew of one pony near Ponyville that most viewed with fear and superstition. That old, creepy, half-breed Earth Zebra. No pony likes him. ... Before removing the skull from the cave, she made sure to remove every part of the horn. No to leave any evidence that could lead Twilight to her and her baby. Late that night, the skull had been planted under the floorboards of his rickety shack while he slept, thanks to a pinch of sleeping herbs in his drink. She disposed of the evidence of the herb, just to be safe. After that was done, she returned to the cave and fed her baby more of Puddle Jumper's corpse. After feeding her quickly growing baby, she stepped outside and searched among the bushes. There you are. She picked up the broken horn and returned inside. She examined every piece of the horn and bits of skull that remained. I have to dispose of this so it can't be found. Twilight said it should take a few days before she returned. I hope I have enough time to. She cringed slightly at the thought of how she was going to dispose of the horn. To digest it. She took the tip of the horn between her teeth and bit down, crunching through the enamel to the bone inside. She ground the horn into a powder between her molars and swallowed it with some stream water. Minty, she wondered, but then that pony did have a mint leaf as her cutie mark. She grinned and resumed her gruesome task, wondering what other unicorns' horns might taste like. ... It was midnight when Twilight was escorted to the Forsaken Hall by Luna. We know mine, sister eldest, hath giveth thou permission, but art thou certain of this path? 3 months thou shalt spend in these halls. Twilight nodded and steeled herself. Yes, Princess Luna. There's a killer in the forest outside Ponyville. This is the only way we can find it, and hopefully before it can kill again. Still, she could not believe it would be taking 3 whole months to learn a few spells. Very well. Thou shalt be locked within these halls. Were it in our decision, thou would not be permitted entry. Luna's horn flashed, lightning striking the massive series of seals and locks that barred entry. Slowly, then they opened, creaking and groaning from lack of use for untold hundreds of years. The hall beyond was wide and carnivorous, and dark. Twilight had to bring all her supplies with her. Food, water, lamps, candles, a dozen blank books, lots of ink and quills. There were also other supplies that Celestia had prepared for her ahead of time. She entered, using her magic to carry everything with her. We shall return 3 months hence. Should thou have learned what thou need by then may the holy light have mercy on thy soul. With that, Luna shut and locked the door behind Twilight. ... In the darkness, Twilight could hear something. Scratching. Voiceless whispers. She felt a chill run down her spine, as the air itself seemed to become cold. Her horn was glowing enough for her to see a short distance, her breath visible in the cold air. She approached the only table in the center of the room and set up a lamp. She lit it, the light doing little to brighten the room. Every now and again she saw a shadow move in the corner of her vision and look, only to see nothing. She pulled on a warm cloak that Celestia had provided for her, though the back with the tarnished silver skull collapse was not something she would normally choose to wear. Setting out for her gear, food and water, she took stock of everything. 3 months' worth of food, same for water, plenty of books, inks, and quills. She shivered, her breath an eerie green in the mixed light of her horn's glow and the flickering orange light from the lamp. A magic disposal bin for garbage and bodily waste. A small single pony tent, bedroll, thick and warm fur blanket, a small heating crystal. Wait, fur blanket? Twilight examined the blanket and saw it was a bear hide. She shuddered, thinking she would be using the skin of fur from a dead creature to stay warm. Still, this place felt unnaturally cold. She sent back to checking what Celestia had provided for her. Black leather leg wraps with straps and steel buckles. A tight-looking black silk vest embroidered with fine silver patterns, skulls, and other dark-looking symbols. A tarnished silver horn ring, sporting small blood-red ruby shards, like small spikes. She knew she would have to wear these clothes. They were designed to protect her, or so Celestia had said. Twilight dressed and sighed, and felt strange, the leather leggings specifically. It felt strange, the leather leggings specifically. Leather was made from the skin of once living creatures, after all. There were other supplies for the magics she would be learning, as well as a full pony skeleton. Well, all the bones of the skeleton. With everything set up, she approached the massive bookshelf that lined both walls of the long, dark hall. They loomed high to the 20-length high ceiling, books filling every space of shelf. Where there were no books, there were various artifacts and even pony skulls. I'm here. I can't turn back now. I have to find the killer. Twilight used her magic and started summoning the books she would be needing. ... fLuTtEr looked at the stripped remains of the skeleton. The cult had been pretty small, but had lasted a week. But with it, stripped as it was, she needed to hunt for her precious baby again. She would not let him go hungry. I'm a fast flyer. I should be able to go to nearby towns and find prey I can easily hunt. She grinned. Blackthorn, Mama's going out to hunt for some yummy food. You stay here and be safe. She piled all the bones into a sack, but placed the skull onto a stone shelf. fLuTtEr then left the cave. ... Trottingham, a small village to the north of Ponyville that rested near the Everfree Forest. fLuTtEr stood on a thick branch of a tall tree, looking out over the small town. She couldn't see any activity, or perhaps there was activity. A small pub looked like it was just closing its doors. A half-dozen drunk ponies leaving and staggering off to wherever they would sleep for the night. fLuTtEr did not want to take any unnecessary risks, so she looked for the most inebriated pony of the group. Unfortunately, that one was with another pair and entered a house with them. Alright, how about a lone one? Her flickering red eyes following the other three. Two staggered together, singing drunken songs, but one was all alone. A young Pegasus. He was not in any condition to be flying right now, which was to fLuTtEr's advantage. She launched off the thick branch, flying fast and silently toward her prey. To be continued. Oh my god, I almost forgot the outro! Well, we can sit here and say that nobody died and call it a really bad chapter because nobody died. But then I would be wrong because this chapter is actually good even though they didn't kill anybody. So, It is quite obvious that this chapter was really good, but it was not perfect. I loved how they introduced Twilight into the story as a new antagonist. Now, she's an antagonist other than the primary protagonist. So that is real awesome, right there. On another note, Blackthorn is best pony. And with that said, 9 out of 10. See you guys next time. I am going to try to do this a lot more over the weekend. But the word try literally means try. Don't rush me. Ciao!